I'm Dwayne Brummett. He's Ali Alberigo, and this is the School Owner Talk podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the next episode of School Owner Talk podcast. Ali, great to see you, sir.
Yeah, great to see you and great to hear your voice and be able to chat and spend time with you. Every time I advertise our podcast, I call it the chat, lunchtime chat, or a coffee chat with Dwayne and Ali. So,
well, I'm going to disappoint today because I'm eating nuts, my cashews, and drinking water. So I don't even have coffee today.
Oh, there you go. I don't drink coffee anymore. I haven't had coffee probably in a good year. It's been almost a year that I've cut that out of my diet. And I started off with this thing called Rise, RYZE. And I like that. It was like a coffee supplement made from mushrooms and stuff like that. And supposed to give you like brain memory boost and all this stuff. But it was bothering my stomach. It had a very acidy tone to it. And then a new company came out, probably the same guy who he probably worked for this company Rise, and he opened up his own company and he changed the ingredients. It's called Daily Dose, DOZE, and I absolutely love it. Like it really does give me that mind boost, like energy boost, but and it tastes good. So so it's better than that coffee. I just had a sip of my wife's coffee today, and I'm like, oh, I remember the taste. But it's strong, like it's so powerful. I remember like I would be like my heart racing after.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's not good. I had mushroom coffee before. There was a time that I was doing a lot of mushroom coffee.
Oh yeah, you did what one? Same one or?
Gosh, I don't remember. I think they were out of California. I just don't remember. Okay. That was so long ago. I mean,
oh, wow,
that was probably I was gonna say 10 years ago, but maybe it was 8 to 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Wild. That's great. I remember a long time ago, 30 years ago, we got involved with this company. I forget what it was, my best friend and I, and we used to eat these little green algae veggie bites called BG bites. And like when you're tired, you just pop, like, it was like the size of a $50 or a dollar coin. And you'd pop it and chew it. They were really delicious, but you'd have this real boost of natural energy. It was great. And then the company went out of business. Maybe they were putting cocaine or something in. I don't remember, but it was good though.
Well, I'm excited about our topic today because we're going to talk about the power of community. And as a martial arts school, we really need to make sure that we cultivate those connections in our school.
Yeah.
I think some of them happen naturally, but I don't know that we always do a strategic job that then would allow our school to have a much better culture when doing that. So I'm excited about that topic.
Yeah, me too, because I remember that, when my school was small, very tiny, like 10 students, 15 students, we were like, and by the way, I did a seminar on this one time. I did a seminar for APS or PPS or Member Solution. I forget which one. And it was about levels within your school, like how you communicate and how you build your culture within your school. And each little phase, like I equated it to like, a family, and then you're a larger family, and then like a little town, and then a city, and then a country. Like as you grow, there are different ways to communicate and different ways to build that community within your school. And as you get bigger, it becomes harder and more difficult, right, to get the buy-in from everybody. So that's why this is a great topic.
Well, isn't that so true that when we were smaller, the person, you as the person, were creating that community just by your personality.
Right.
And I think any good martial arts school that started out and is still in business, that either has created this to be a full-time deal for them or pretty close to full-time, it's really because of the community that they and their personality had created prior to it exploding and getting bigger. When I say exploding, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, but I can just kind of remember waking up and going, oh my gosh, we're now at over 100, and then going, oh my gosh, we're now over 200. Like it just seemed like it did a hop, skip, and a leap, even though that wasn't really what happened. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, but it does feel like that. And I remember, like, when I had a small amount of students, everyone did everything. Like, I expected them to be at every parent night out, or even if we had one, or a seminar, or if we traveled to a tournament, we all went together, right? It wasn't a question. And I think it's interesting because we're at about maybe 10 to 15% of our student population that participates in various events. So like, if you have a school of 100, you're looking at maybe 15, 20 that will be involved. And it's almost odd because those 15, 20 will do everything, right? Like, you literally put a sign up sheet on the wall. You almost know that you could write in these 10 people's names because they don't miss a thing. Right. And then there's so many people, and I want to talk about this in a little later, is that they don't engage at all. Right. They just don't participate. And we have to find out a better way to make that happen.
Yeah. I listen, let's start off with, I think, what are some of the natural, automatically built in to martial arts things that actually cultivate culture in your opinion?
Well, I don't think it's a specific event, right? I think that the most important thing is that natural bond of people who are bonded to the style and the system and what you do as an art form. Like, they love what they're doing. Like, the way you teach, the environment you built in the school, the camaraderie, all of those things are the most fundamental of things that happen that bring people together, right? That's, they're there with that common bond.
Yeah, so the common system, the common, and I think that even goes down to the belts.
Right.
That I'm working together. I'm a white belt, and I'm with all the other white belts, and they're all in the same boat as I am. Yes, Johnny seems like he can throw a kick better than me, but I can do blocks better than him, or whatever it is.
Right.
But there's a camaraderie, I think, even within the structure of a martial arts school. So, I think the belt ranking system is one of those things that are already built in to help start to build that camaraderie. We're all white belts. We're all going through the same thing together. Now we graduate. And that's the other part, is the whole graduation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole opportunity to create this bonding and this cultural experience repetitiously. That's happening, every 3 months or every 2 months or every 6, whatever your system does. So like Ali said, the overall system itself is the first part of the culture, but then you start breaking those pieces down into, the different levels. So I know for us, like, we have a white belt only class. So it's only white belts until they graduate out of that class.
Great.
But then they move into, now they become a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's 3 belt levels in that beginner's class. And so, I have it broken down where there's 3 belt levels, and usually yellow belts are working mostly with yellow belts, and yellow with whites are you working with yellow with whites, and so on and so forth. But they're all in it together in that beginner class.
Right.
And then once they get out of, so there's labels that we have. We have a white belt only class. We have a beginner's class. We have an intermediate class that has 4 levels. And then we have an advanced class that has 4 levels, well before they get into the black belt class.
Right.
And so we've created these different class structures, different hurdles for them to go through, but it's through the belt ranks. So there's labels with regards to the belt ranks, but then even more than that, there is this label of, okay, I'm still a beginner, but I'm working to become an intermediate student.
Right.
All right, now I'm an intermediate student. I have intermediate capabilities, but I really want to have more advanced capabilities.
Right.
So that's kind of like the overall arching structure. Does that kind of make sense?
Totally does. I agree with you 1,000%. I think that that's so important, is to, the curriculum or the system, right? Whatever we call it in our school, in Japan, they call it the syllabus, right? Of the ranking. So, I mean, that normally will create, if you do a good job, that normally will create a bond, like all yellow belts moving up to green together. It's like we all, what's that old saying? Something tides raise a ship, or whatever it is. I forget the saying. All tides rise a ship, but anyway, something like that. We all grow together. We all will develop our style, our talents and everything together. Building a team, little mini teams throughout your school.
Yeah. And I think inside of that curriculum, inside of that lesson plan, are opportunities to create more bonding, more cultural experience. So I know like one of the ways that we do that is at each belt level, we have different phrases that we have them memorize at that level. That's equivalent to kind of like where they're at that level. So, at one level, they're learning the martial arts philosophy. Another one is the
someone wrote in, all high tides raises all ships.
There you go. You've been helped.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yes. You're saying?
Yeah. So they have different phrases that they're all saying together at those levels too, that help to create that bond. So the martial arts philosophy, we've got the 3 rules of concentration, the black belt success system, and even our student creed, along with what I would call little Senate sermons that are kind of mixed in to the whole class. So one of the things that I would teach is, and it all depends, is, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but the little things matter, or the little things count.
Right. Yeah.
So like examine what little things are you skipping that it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Are you saying please and thank you? Are you saying you're welcome? Are you bowing when you're supposed to bow? Are you shaking hands? Are you looking people in the eyes? And then just, creating that from there. And then even like one thing that we share is when a task is once begun, you leave it not until it's done, and be a matter great or small, you do it well or not at all.
I like that.
And so there's just small little phrases or Senate sermons, as I like to call them, to create that bond, between. And then I'll tell you one thing that I picked up from when we talked to Dave Kovar is that phrase about, and I kind of paraphrased it to match what we want it to say, which muscle are you exercising? Your quit muscle?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, that, by the way, if the listeners have not heard that podcast and many others that we've had special guests. In fact, we have Tommy Lee coming up next week, so we always talk about Tommy. So, but that one was amazing. I agree with you 100%, Dwayne, that Dave Kovar he's just a genius when it comes to that stuff. One of the guys just wrote in, he wrote dojo etiquette, and that's what in my school, what we call it, the protocol and the etiquette and the morality that's taught in our school. It should be cultural. Like, so for example, this is what I talk to people about in Japan. And I was just interviewed on this topic for a movie that's coming out on Netflix, which I can't wait, called The Nathan Ingram Story. They did like an hour interview for me, all different questions. And one of them was about how the Japanese culture, and any culture, the Korean culture or the Chinese culture, how their culture ties into the dynamics of their curriculum. And that's what's being lost in our modern day martial arts system, because we're Americans or, Westerners. We don't know the lifestyle. We read about it. We've heard about it. Like if you're watching, I don't know if you have yet, but it's just amazing, is Shogun.
I was just going to say that. Yes.
Oh, dude, it is so good. And I am absolutely, like I told my wife today, I'm depressed because I got to wait a whole week to see it again. But I
got to wait till Monday to see the next one when it drops.
Yeah, it's so cultural, like the way they act and the way they are, and just the way their country is, and what's respectful, what's not respectful, what's the proper way, the etiquette, like Garland had just said, dojo etiquette is so important. And by the way, that is another thing that bonds people to the school, right? Is your martial art. You're all warriors of the same clan and style. Maybe you go to competitions together or seminars together, and also you do things together as a family.
Yeah. And we're eventually going to get into all those things, right? I mean, that's what I would agree with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the framework of the structure is, again, what Allie had brought up in the beginning is your school, and it's, well, I like the dojo etiquette, the style, the etiquette, everything has to fall in line, and it has to be, I believe, really marked out well, but then also done consistently.
Right, right.
So that there are no questions on
Yeah,
what the etiquette is inside of your school. And so
absolutely.
the
And that
total
becomes,
buy-in.
that becomes your culture, right? That the etiquette becomes the culture.
Yeah.
How you bow, how you act, how you answer, yes sir, yes ma'am, no sir, no ma'am, like those things, all of those things are so ingrained in the martial arts. And hierarchy is important as well. I don't know if you agree with this, but like hierarchy and reverence to your teachers, to and it has to be taught. It's not assumed, it's not, guessed at. It's not like, hey, this is what you should do. You have to actually teach it, because that's a certain way you're supposed to act in your school. It's just the way it is. And you can't expect normal people, average everyday people who never took martial arts before, to act that way unless they've been taught how to act properly.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. So it's top down. It's top down. The other thing too is, inside of your class, the camaraderie that you build or help to build when you have your students not only just working with the instructor, but also others on the floor. So the other instructors or the assistant instructors, and then the partners when they're partner drilling with one another.
Right.
That helps to create more camaraderie, just more bonding and buy-in for the culture and the studio. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree. And I have a for example on that too, where I have a student who's he came back after years and he was quite advanced when he left, but he started back off at white belt. And and now he's training, but his skill level is way more advanced than the other beginners, right? So, and he said to me, "Oh, I'm getting bored." And I said, "This is where you have to really dig deep, because you have to understand that it's your job as a more talented, higher ranking person to try to help and guide those others. This is where you become a leader and a respected elder, so to speak, of the school, where others look up to you because you're doing your job to guide them through and help them become better students." And sometimes people don't realize that it's a very selfish, I want what I want, I get these techniques, how come I'm not getting more, me kind of attitude. But that when we teach that etiquette of guiding and helping others, it becomes a great lesson for them.
Yeah, or I already know how to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Someone wrote, Sean Flanagan, a good friend of mine, and he and I did a movie together in 1997 called The Cutoff. And we know each other for a long time, right? So he wrote, as a teacher, you have to remain that separation. Too many want to be everyone's friend. We are not there to be their friends. We're there to teach and lead, which is so, so true. That's a great one, Sean. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yep. No, I would agree. So the next piece, and you kind of already brought it up, which is great, are the events, the workshops, the social gatherings that also help to strengthen connection in your school. So what are would you say typical events that martial arts schools hold?
Well, can I dig? We do all this parents' night outs, PNOs, right? Parents' night out. In fact, this Friday we have Nerf Wars at our school. We have about 40 people signed up so far. And then we'll do other seminars. But what I did want to point out too is it's our duty and our job to get people to go to those events. And what I mean by that, it's not just so that we have a good turnout so that we make good income, but I think it's super important for us to get them involved so that they have a bigger, more in-depth experience. That's really what parents miss out on. They don't understand that if they just come 2 days a week to martial art training, and then they also, and so many parents do this, right, Dwayne? I bet you as well in your area. They karate on Tuesdays and Thursdays, gymnastics on Wednesdays, dance on Friday, Saturday is swimming. Like these kids are so scheduled to the hilt that they don't really have a time to really bond and enjoy. So I always tell parents it's kind of a disservice to the kids if they're not doing a tournament and they're not coming to our special events, because this is where they make friends. Like when I my best friends that I have in life, probably about 12 of them, are all people I met at tournaments. We all competed against each other. Then afterwards, we go, hey, you want to go get dinner after? Hey, yeah. And then we became friends. Like we didn't know each other. We just competed against each other. And then we ended up, some of them, one of my buddies, she and Andrew Stigliano, we've traveled the world together. We've been to Japan. We've been to Colorado. We've been all over. My other buddy, Randy Weekly, we've traveled everywhere together, right? And it started off at a chance meeting. We just met and we hit it off. We loved him and Randy and I loved the TV show The Highlander. That was our bonding agent. And after that, it was just like we had such a great friendship. We're still to this day, we're best buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
those events are extremely important, not just financially for the school, because quite honestly, some are free events, and we still want to, like you said, we want to get as many people that will be involved in those events to get and be involved with those events.
Yeah.
Again, being a workshop, a parents' night out, to an inter-school tournament, to an
outside tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then look, your what are your Halloween parties, your Christmas parties, all the way to like we said, the graduations, those type of things. But I also know of some schools, I've never done this, and I probably should, and maybe you have, but I know Grandmaster Keith Hafner told us years ago that we should do these type of things, but just come up with things that have nothing to do with karate.
Right.
Just to do stuff together.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I guess this has something to do with karate, but I've rented out like a private viewing of like the Ninja Turtle movie coming out, or when the Karate Kid, we got to preview it before it actually, so the night before the day it came out, we rented the place, and we were able to, and we did that on numerous occasions. And even though it was karate based, it wasn't in the karate studio, it wasn't a karate activity per se, but it was just out of the ordinary type thing. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, it totally does. And we've done everything. We did Clone Wars with Star Wars. We did Ninja Turtles. We did a few other movies where I knew the stars of the movies, and I actually had them come to the theater and sign autographs, right? It was pretty cool. But those events, like we've had outside picnics at our school. We had what we call the luau day, where everyone dressed in Hawaiian garb and clothing, and some ridiculous in grass skirts and others in just weird flowered shirts. But we would have a barbecue and fun, just hanging out. And it didn't necessarily have technique. Sometimes we'd have a demonstration team perform, but really it was just hanging out. Like our Christmas party, we do one every year, and we'll have like 150 people there. It's free. Everyone brings a dish. It's like a potluck dinner. We do charge to get in, which is one can of non-perishable or one non-perishable food product that we donate to the soup kitchens. So we have boxes and boxes of food because, we'll have 150 people, and they're all bringing something. So those are great events. That's what I loved about martial arts, where I would get together with my training partners just to hang.
Right. One summer we did, it was Friday nights, and every instructor had a team, and we did a kickball tournament.
Oh, cool.
And so, we had scheduled it out, and then by the picnic, that was where the championship happened.
Right.
So each team got to play each other. I think it was mapped out, so 2 times. And yes, I did pay my staff to go play kickball, just in case anybody's
right, exactly, yeah.
So that was a huge hit. And then the next year we did wiffle ball, just because we didn't want to do the same thing.
Right.
Wiffle ball didn't go over as well as kickball.
Oh, wow.
But still, just the same, did the same thing. Had people sign up, and then we just, put different instructors with different teams, and there was no practice times. It was just come and have, a great time.
Yeah, I love it. I think that that's what bonds people, is community affairs and events, right? When you think about that, whether it be, CrossFit or whatever sport that gyms, they do these kayaking trips together and things of that nature. And that's important. The only problem is I do want to just point out that it does get a little disheartening where you put a lot of effort into it and you get a very small portion of your population to attend. Like I was telling, and this is something that people could look into in their schools because it's a big deal, is that, one of my friends, he's a new school that I coach, and he's within a year, he's grown to like 120 students. He's doing amazing, right? And he brings a huge amount, probably the most people to my tournaments that we have. Like he'll bring 30, 40 of his students. And that's pretty damn good, 40 people out of 110. But I said to him, imagine how many people that you count, just subtract 110 from 40. You're looking at like 70 people that are not attending, 70 people that are not engaging, 70 people that are ignoring what you're saying and not becoming a part of it. And that's what I get the same with my 40 or so, 50 people that are going to come to this Nerf Wars. I'm only getting like a quarter of my population to engage. So we have to find out why the other 75% is not engaging.
Yes, but some of that is they're not interested in it. And so that goes back to what you talked about a long time ago. And I also heard from Professor Hafner, well, Grandmaster Hafner now, is that in creating these events, you need to segment your population and have specific events for specific areas of your population.
Absolutely.
So for instance, you gotta have, if you have 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds or whatever in your studio, you need to have events that are 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-old related. Nerf Wars is not the thing for the 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds because they're not loading the gun and being able to shoot it in a timely manner. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
But you could have, like we do every November, we do a free ninja obstacle course for 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, and we have different times, and and it's a blast. Parents come in, they're all taking videos, and awesome. It's just, but it is segmenting your population and finding, what's going to work in that niche. And then to your point, finding out why, when you segment it, finding out why a certain percentage of the people, even though it was segmented for them, are not coming. Because I remember you talking about that with some of the other people that you've coached, is why don't you call them? Why don't you find out the reason why? Give them a pass, give them a percentage off the next one or whatever it is. I'm sure you were going to go into that and I stole your thunder.
No, not at all. I didn't even think about that, although we do talk about that a lot. In fact, Sensei Anthony Arango, he's one of my dear friends, and he's a really good high-end school owner. He does a lot of seminars at his school. So he will have in, like he had Tom Poe, the guy who played Tom Poe, who was in The Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme. He just had in Sensei Modi, who's a great martial art teacher. And, then he's going to have in Hanshi, Nathan Ingram. So he does these like monthly or bi-monthly events where he'll get 30, 40, and he gets outsiders to come to these events as well. Other school owners come down. So this is like a big culture within his school. And, it takes a lot. And like he said, some of the stuff he wrote, you need to have visible sign-up sheets, which I call a Look Who's Going board. And I actually have a tournament coming up, and I made a Look Who's Going sheet that it's 11 by 17, and I sent it to every school so they could put it on the wall and write down who's going to the tournament. It's like social proof, right? And he also does, posters in the lobby. He handwrites things. He handwrites letters. Like, it's very personal to him. And he also, he says, so the students could see and parents can see it and talk among themselves. Every class he does an announcement. So these are really great points, Sensei Arango, thank you for sharing that with us. It's amazing. So Dwayne, you were saying on my thing that, I had said we should dig deep, find out why, make a phone call. Like, hey, Mrs. Jones, I noticed you've been with us for 2 years and you have not participated in one single event. Now, it's okay if that's the way it is, but I'm just wondering why, because do you realize how much fun Johnny would have, or how much he's missing out with not bonding with his other friends in the dojo and having fun? You have an opportunity right here at your fingertips for Johnny to make lifelong friends. And he's not going to make them on 2 hours a week, just coming to the class and leaving and everyone scoots out real quick. You got to be a part of these things. You have to understand the value in them. And I don't think many parents would disagree. I had a kid the other day. He said, I think I'm going to be sick that day. You don't even know what day I'm talking about. You're going to be, his parents have programmed him to say, right, I'm going to be sick that day. It's crazy, right? So yeah, you have to dig deep to find out why they're not engaging.
Yeah, and look, when you do that, don't take offense to anything they say.
Right.
Just take it all in as information, and whether it's good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is, and then decide how you want to, funnel that information.
Yeah, like another thing too with Sensei Arango, he'll bring to the tournament circuit. He runs part of the tournament circuit with us, and he has his own tournament as well. But when he comes to all the other tournaments, man, he basically, brings 40, 50 people to an event. And I mean, his students always placed high on the list of scores, like 1st to 5th place. They're really good. But he also prepares for the tournaments in the classes, and his focus is to gear up and get ready for these competitions. And he creates this bond. And then after the tournament, he has this big event on that following Monday after the Sunday tournament where they get together, they have pizza, they take a picture. He posts it on social media. It's really, really well thought out, his bonding and cultural experience that he has going at his school.
Yeah, so the event isn't done
right
after the event is done.
Exactly. It never is. It's still going. You're going to keep on pushing it and working with it. And I have a whole host of things I could recommend on that as well. That's another topic, but like press releases and, afterwards dealing with it for other events and promoting and testimonials, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Another way to build, I think, really strong relationships is, partnering with your community. And what I mean by that is community events, fundraisers, different collaborations that you can do. I know for years when it was an in-person thing, we had the Easter Seals Telethon.
Right.
And we would get volunteers to go and work the phone.
Mm.
So we would take a full hour and it would be sponsored. The phones would be answered by TriStar Martial Arts Academy.
Yeah.
During that hour, we also would perform a couple of demos that our kids, would be live on the television, doing the demos and those type of things. So there's a plethora of community events, fundraisers, different collaborations in your community. If you I would just start with your own clientele and ask them if they know of any community events or fundraisers or other collaboration ideas that they have, that they know of, that you guys can be a service to that. And one of those things is kind of like what you were talking about, where the fee to enter was a canned good or a non-perishable item. The same thing is done, I don't know if you guys do it, but in the month of November for Thanksgiving, we do a canned food drive, and we encourage you to come to class with at least one canned good every time you come into class. So it's just one more event, one more opportunity for people to get involved. But those would be the other ones. Community events, fundraisers, collaborations is kind of what I was going to bring up.
Well, I remember. Look, I just think back about what I liked most about growing up in the martial arts, right? And I always remember that not only was it the people I trained with, like my buddies, my training partners, right? But it was the prestige of being involved in that particular school. We did a lot of competitions. We would travel, people knew who we were. Xian Vasquez, my teacher, and, they knew we were with him. We'd walk in, we'd be in all black suits, and, we'd come to the tournament and so on and so forth. But I felt like the band of brothers, kind of feeling. And that's another important thing that we have to encourage. And by the way, my guy Ryan does that well, where he tries to get the assistant or helpers or leadership team to get to know the students. Like one of the people, it's so funny. We talk about Little Johnny all the time, right? And he goes, "Wow, Little Johnny's really famous." He wrote on the post. But let's say we have a kid, Little Johnny, and we want to say, "Hey, John, what do you like to do? Like, are you a musician?" And the other day, Dwayne, I did something that just off the top of my head, and it was amazing. Like, we were filming a video for social media, but I pulled all the kids in. They were my youth class, and I literally went through every single one and tried to remember when they joined and what I felt about them the first time I met. Like I said, when I met you for the first time, I could tell you had talent, and I know that one day you're going to become one of the best black belts. And I literally went through every kid and every experience. And then my guy Ryan, Wrenchy Ryan, also did the same. And these kids were beaming, like so happy, like just to hear that you feel good about them and they feel good, that they're liked by you and they're bonded to you, and you create this environment. That's what we're talking about here, is creating that bond from student to teacher. And that's where I go back to that word reverence. We have to teach hierarchy and reverence and respect in our school, because if we don't, and we just call our instructor coach and he's our friend, and they curse and joke and they don't really have good ethics as a teacher, it's not going to help them at being a student in the school.
Yeah, exactly. And I within the structure, and I think most of us have this, I forgot to mention, and you just reminded me of it, is the fact that we have the opportunity when, I don't know, because you call it leadership, we call it storm team.
Right.
So the storm team members now become a smaller elite group of our instructorhood, if you will, because those are the ones that we train to become instructors, and then we pull our paid instructors from. So even like for us, we have a leadership curriculum, and they come in and they have to do part of their, what we call clinical time. But every quarter we have a leadership class that's it's our storm team class. Our storm team class that we do just for the storm team members. I come in and it's an hour class. We spend time together. There's a teaching topic that I go over with them, and we'll do some things on the floor. But then sometimes we'll just hang out, play some games or whatever. There's times where I don't do anything, but I say, all right, guys, we're having pizza today. And we're just going to sit and chat and have some pizza, and then we'll go out on the floor and do a couple of things, or we'll do the floor stuff first and then eat pizza afterwards. It's just the bonding, the hanging out time, to giving them the opportunity to, be who they are. And then I get an opportunity to be able to kind of see who they are. Because especially for me, I'm not in class teaching with them all the time.
Right.
I don't work with them. And so it's a great opportunity for me to get that from them.
Right. I love that. And, we do every year, we do our staff dinner for the holidays, right? And last time we did it, we were all left going like, we should do these quarterly at least, because it was so much fun. And, you're at a different level. You're an instructor. So we joked about, funny things that happen in class. Did you see how deep that kid's finger was up his nose? That kind of silly stuff. But it's also just a great bonding experience with your team as well. And to have them do things separately from the major population so that they can bond as a team, right? Like, they're the higher level of team, right, in the school, because they're the instructors. So sharing and having them go out and share and have fun together is very important as well. And by the way, even I pay for the dinner, and it could cost me $200, $300, $400 for the night. Money well spent, because it's just so good to be around them and give back. And, you don't even have to have an agenda. You just sit down and be like, let's just hang out. Let's talk.
Yep.
That's it. And just to show thanks and give back.
Yeah, I was going to say this, but it was already brought up. You want to read that?
Let me see. What is it? I might have missed it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sensei Rango also wrote, my instructors have to write a great job in class to one student every day, and I write one card to a parent every day, letting them know I appreciate them being in our school every day, he writes. We have a book with every student, so we keep track, for the year who has gotten cards. And I think I've spoken about this on podcasts before, which is our good job book, right? And then, by the way, at the end of the month, if Sensei Arango hasn't written something to somebody, that means they haven't showed up to class. So those are the people we're focusing on, going like, where the heck have they been? What's happening? This is our retention. We better get on them, find out why, and so on. But again, kudos to Sensei Arango, because he literally like hand writes all the cards. He just invites people personally. He has, even though he has a large school, I forget the saying of his slogan of his school, something a local school with a national reputation. And so that's his slogan. So, or something very close to that. And so he really knows how to tap into that and really work with his students and keep them engaged and let the parents and the kids know how he feels. Those cards are magic. They're a simple, like, 2-liner postcard, stamp, boom, send. And I get people all the time going, hey, tell Wrenchy Ryan, thank you so much for his kind words. The kids, it's hanging on the refrigerator. They're overjoyed. Like, those little things mean a lot.
Well, they do. They do. And I talked about this on podcasts before too, but I do handwritten birthday cards, and then I send them 2 brownies.
That's
so they
great.
get a couple of brownies, a nice little treat, and then a handwritten card.
I thought about trying to find, my daughter I'm going to do a selfless plug for her. She does custom cell phone cases for people. And she just did one for Sensei Arango with his dojo logo on it. I got it for him as a gift. But I tried to think to my daughter, like, how can I have her do something small that I could give her a list of all my birthday people and send it out. But it could get quite costly. But your thing is great. Like, you do cookies or brown. Like, didn't one of your kids go, I don't really like, you said, how'd you like the brownies? And they're like, I don't really like brownies or something like that. And you sent them a different dessert.
I sent them cookies.
Yeah, it's the greatest. Like, those things mean so much, dude. They're so powerful.
And I spent double. I mean, obviously they got the brownies. I'm not taking them back. The mom, I told the mom, I said, well, go ahead and eat them. And I said, does she like cookies? And she's like, yeah. And I said, well, don't tell her, but I'm going to send her some. Oh, you don't have to do. I go, no. I'm going to send her some cookies.
Yeah. So. But look at Dwayne. I had a student. We haven't seen each other in quite some time. He trained with me for 27 years, 26 years. I think you met him, Sensei Frank Olmeda, a Spanish guy. And he was one of my top guys, 4th degree black belt. He started with me like in the old school in 1991. His daughter got her black belt. He was like a 4th dan. But anyway, one day he came to me with this huge, thick, like 3-ring binder notebook. It was probably like 5 inches thick. And he said, take a look at this. And I opened it, and it was every letter, every sticky note, every handwritten note, every newsletter, every flyer, every seminar that he ever attended in my school. He had that, and he saved everything. And sometimes you think, like, to some, it might be, boom, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like in and out of their ear in 2 seconds, and they could care less. But to others, it like means the world. Like, it really are. They're all like, so it depends again, by the way, Dwayne, it depends again on the reverence they have for you, like how special they believe that you are. And I don't mean in skill or, but I mean, like, if they look up to you, then those things, those letters, those things mean way more to them than anything.
Yeah. And I think it's what we do off the mat.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. It's what we do off the mat that creates the most community. It's just supported on the mat. And so when we get our clients, our students to come to these events and different things, we have the ability to be able to create that bond with them that is just, again, reinforced on the mat.
Right.
Those that don't come, they're not getting that bond reinforced because, like you said, it's really difficult to build that bond. Yeah. In a 2 hour, or 1 hour twice a week. So 2 hours in totality. It's just over time we could. Yeah. Right. By the time they're black belt, 4, 6, in your case, I think it's 7 years, whatever it is.
7 years to black belt, right?
You then might have made that bond, but it's not as deep.
And the word may is very, very true. Like, it's not always a definite, right? People could get their black belt and still be on the surface.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you got to get to know them outside of the school. I think that's just, the way that it has to be done.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily like, I don't necessarily agree with and Sensei Arango or someone posted it and said that it's very important for us to be our students' teachers, not their friends. Now, we can be friendly, but we can't be their friends, right? And when I say, you can have a student that it starts off as a student and you bond and you become friends, right? That happens. You just have a certain friendship and that'll last forever. But there are those that, the minute you breach that or cross that line, and they start to feel like you're their friend, they become complacent, they become judgmental, they become questionable, and that could be a demise of a relationship in regards to having that that teacher student bond and respect that's needed. It's like,
Yeah.
you're never your dad's and mom's friend. I mean, you're their kid. Like, no matter how successful, smart, old, rich you become, they're still your parents and always will be. And there's no changing that. And the minute we start to lose that respect, and certain things, I see that in a relationship where they start talking to their parents like their friends and treat them like crap, then that bond is destroyed. It's broken down. It starts to decline.
Yep. No, I agree. And look, the reason that I wanted to talk about this topic is because I think sometimes we take for granted that the relationships are just going to be built.
Right.
And I think hopefully by bringing up this topic, we will re-examine what we do, how we do it, be more strategic about the connections that we make, and decide, what kind of touch points can I put into our experience here in order to, really make that environment and that cultural buy-in so that it just creates this family type atmosphere, or whatever type of atmosphere that you're looking to have. I'll tell you, I know a school owner that every quarter, so after every belt test, they sit down with every single parent.
Wow.
Probably, I don't know, it might take a full month to get through everybody. I have no idea. But and then they refocus on the goals for the next 3 months.
Right. That is amazing, right? Because what happens, and by the way, the reason why it doesn't get done is because it takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
And then not only, like you're scheduling with, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who's also a very famous family, by the way, in case our listener is judging that. But Mr. and Mrs. Smith now, they're busy. They can't make it. They have so much going on. It's like the student-teacher conferences with all the best kids those parents attend. All the kids who need the most work and the most help are the ones that don't get involved, right? So, but you're right. If you could reach out and reaffirm and connect with those families and reset the goals for the next 4, 6, 8 months, and re-energize their desire and why they came in the first place. Because, they join because Johnny wants to have confidence, or he wants to learn. They want him to have discipline. And then he kind of gets it. Now they don't have any need for it. They don't realize the future has way more to offer.
What's the next level? Yeah, and some of them that she does in person, but there's a lot of them that's through Zoom. Zoom has made that a very accessible opportunity, and I think that is phenomenal. I mean, it's lovely to go face to face, but it's just so hard sometimes to do the face to face. But man, if you can take a Saturday morning and do a couple hours worth of Zoom each Saturday morning in a month, you probably have talked to everybody that you need to talk to, or pretty close. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what's interesting too, like with technology, like especially with us, we have Spark. We can schedule it out a calendar and then have people book their own time slots on a few different days. And then we see what their time slots are. We know, okay, just give them a call. It's 10:30, call Mr. Jones. To 11, this one. And as long as you're good with your timing, you could do this meeting in 15, 20 minutes.
Well, you just pre-frame it. You just say we're gonna meet for what I would say is we're gonna meet for 12 minutes.
Right. Right. That's great.
And this is what we're going to discuss.
Right.
And then you can even send them a forms and survey questionnaire prior, so that you have that in front of you.
Right.
And it could be where it says what were your goals last quarter.
Right.
And did you feel like you met them? And what are your goals for this next quarter?
Right.
And then, then you meet, you read it really quick. So you end 12 minutes, like you do before you do your first call, you take 3 minutes and you read the survey. and then you call them, right? So if
Right.
my first call's at 9 o'clock, at 8:57, I'm reading their stuff, and then I get in the call at 9 o'clock, and then
I love it.
and then 12 minutes in, all right, great, I understand what we're working on this next round. This is what our focus is. This is how we're going to do it. And then, I'll see you and little Johnny in class.
Yeah.
And you take the next 3 minutes and you read the next one and you go into it.
That resets everything too, right? Like people, because that old saying, complacency breeds contempt, right? Like when people get used to things and they don't think they any longer have a mission or a goal in mind. It's like marathoners. There's a book I read years ago about marathon runners, and it said that they have this marathon high, and when they would run the marathon afterwards, they'd get depressed because they had nothing else to train for. So they become marathon junkies, because then they'd have to set a new marathon with a new distance and a new high, so that they could have something to strive for. And if we're not doing that within our students, it becomes a problem and they get complacent. Sensei Arango, another added thing he wrote, COVID was a wake-up call. Those schools that did not have strong bond relationships with their students and parents suffered, and hopefully reset those standards to make those adjustments. I agree. Like we here in Long Island were shut down for quite some time with our lovely mayor and governor, which we have another doozy of a governor right now, which is just pathetic what's happening to New York City. I mean, it's like a zoo now. It's terrible. It's crime. It's
Chicago isn't any better, my friend.
Who's that?
I said Chicago isn't any better.
Chicago isn't, I know. Two of the major cities, two largest cities in the United States is Chicago and New York, right? But anyway, back to what Sensei Arango was saying. He said a lot of people just quit. Like if they didn't have that bond, they didn't even have the loyalty when COVID hit to even say goodbye. Like I had brown belts with their third stripe that would have tested the following year for their black belt that have disappeared off the face of the earth. I had never heard from them ever again. The minute we said we're shutting down due to COVID, they literally, like a delete button in their mind, deleted me out of their lives. And that was it. I don't even see them, hear from them. I've sent them text messages, sent them information, not even a thank you. It was great training with you, but we moved on. It was just goodbye, done.
But isn't that why we switched to doing these online seminars with our students? I did one with yours. Well, I think I did one with yours. You did a few with mine. We had Kenny do some with ours. You had different people come and do seminars, virtually for your students.
Yes. I still, believe it or not, I still do them.
We just did one. Remember, what was it, late last year or whatever we did one?
Yeah, it wasn't even more than a few months ago. And I also had Adam Lux from Deluxe Karate from Michigan zoomed into my school. I had my big screen TV projector, and he taught. It was amazing. And then I did it at his school. The thing I hate is he used to have to fly me in, which was great. He'd fly me in. I did a weekend, dinners, and taught and sold product. Now it's just like, hey guys from Zoomland, here's my class, and then they go, right. Sir, and then they disappear. It's not quite the same, but it's still amazing that we could do that.
Yeah, and then we did karate bingo.
Yes. Yes.
The scavenger hunt.
That was super. I thought about doing that again now on Zoom. I don't know if I get the same buy-in, but at the same time, because they're in their house, it's a Friday night. We do a scavenger hunt. Why wouldn't it be fun? Right? You know what I mean? They're running around their house, the brothers, the siblings, the mother, the father. That's something fun too.
Yeah. So this was the first year that we had not done it after Christmas, because we would do a Christmas one. So it was a Christmas scavenger hunt, and we had certain items. You got to go find a snowman, or you got to go find, different Christmas items, and then they would win prizes. Back in COVID, I would actually drive the prizes to their house. Now we just have them pick it up at the studio when they come back from the Christmas break.
Right. Right.
But I didn't do it this year, and I had people go, "Oh, you're not going to do it?"
Right.
And I was like, "Wow." So okay, I need to probably bring that back next year.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it the case though, Dwayne? There's so many things that we've done that we haven't done in so long that we probably could just do again. That was really back in the day when we were like grassroots. And by the way, here's what has happened in my life. You tend to do this for a long time. You start to get bored and you start to get burnt out. and you start to say like, do I really want to do that? I'm tired. Maybe we'll just skip it this year. Even though it was, it's free maybe, or it was a good event and it was fun, you look at it as work now because it's just the same old, same old. But we have to remember it's not the same old for the people that are there now. It's the same old for the few that have been with us for 10 years or whatever, right? Or 12 years. But for the new ones, it's brand new. Like parents are saying to me, and I'm kind of like perplexed by it. They're going, what is this Nerf Wars thing? Like we haven't done one in so long. Like it's been 10 years since we call this one World War Z from the Brad Pitt movie about zombies, the zombie apocalypse. So if people could come dressed as zombies or soldiers or police officers or citizens, and we do Nerf Wars. It's nothing. They just get a chance to dress up like Halloween if they want. And we haven't done one in 10 years or 12 years. And parents are like, wow, this is so cool. When did you start doing this? Like, this is a new idea? I'm like, no, it's unfortunately something we've been doing forever, but it's new to you.
Well, and I'm just going to give everybody a heads up. You know when the first Saturday in May is, right? What's that date?
Mother's Day training.
No,
right.
The first Saturday in May.
Right. That's March, April, May. First Saturday is the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, okay. Well, we do Mother's Day training in our school on the day before Mother's Day.
Okay. Is the 5th Mother's Day?
No, I just thought that's where you were going.
No. Where I'm going is that how often do you get a chance that you could do a Star Wars thing on May 4th and it's Sunday, or excuse me, and it's Saturday.
Yeah.
So just an idea.
Yeah, that's true too. A lot of great ideas, dude. We covered so much. I hope everyone enjoyed our podcast and had a good time. Thank you for the input from Sensei Anthony Arango from the Martial Art Institute in Massapequa, New York. And maybe we could have him back on again because he's always a great call and great show because he's got his school, I think this year is 45 years he's open.
Wow.
That's amazing, right?
Definitely got me beat. I
know. I'm doing 33 years this November. And my good friend, Sensei Oschlager, also did 45 years this year. Wow. This is 45.
There's something to be learned by that. There really is.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Something to be learned. So, well, I just want to quickly recap. Everyone, don't take for granted that you're going to build a community without being strategic about building a community in your school. So take a look at how you are actually doing it. I would even say, hey, maybe write down a list of things that you feel that you are doing well and you are doing that helps create that community. Present it to your staff, have a staff meeting and talk about community and what they see with regards to the background of their training, how they felt, what was community to them then and what is community to them now.
Right.
And then take everything in and then make some decisions on how you want to upgrade your ability to create the community that you want in your school.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you, Dwayne. Always awesome hanging with you. You made my day a better day.
Well, I appreciate that. You're so kind.
Thank you, man.
It's always an outstanding time with you, my friend.
I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one, sir.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk podcast. This would not be possible if it weren't for the support of our amazing sponsors. Please check out Elite Insights for all your website needs. They can be reached at eliteinsights.com. Add Health Coaching, helping school owners create a new and easy to implement revenue stream for your school. Visit addhealthcoaching.com. Lead Hunter Media, your online digital marketer and content provider. Visit leadhuntermedia.com. Academy Kings Growth Consulting and Management Group. They can be reached at academykings.com. And Spark Membership, hands down the best martial arts software for school owner management on the planet. They can be reached at sparkmembership.com. We will see you next time.